Definitely something that the bootcamp really, really helped me with was coming up with a whole process behind picking a video idea, the more practical side of the back end, the SEO, coming up with video ideas. That just makes life so much easier.
Well, hello, Cassie. Welcome to the podcast.
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited also. I mean, for me, it's always such a treat to be able to feature one of my bootcamp students on the podcast. And you've definitely been one of those students that you've been with me for a little bit. And I'm just so excited and just proud of the growth that you've had on YouTube. So why don't you share with everybody? Why don't we get started with you sharing a little bit about you, your channel, and then we'll kind of dive into more about your experiences in the bootcamp and stuff.
Okay, cool. So a while ago, before I started YouTube and doing videos, I had a fashion blog and it was fine and I was doing it. You know, I wasn't making any money from it or anything, but I just loved fashion and this was my way of being able to do something within fashion without making that my full-time job. Mm-hmm. So I did this blog and then, it kind of felt a little bit of it felt like a task every time I was writing a post. It wasn't really where my passion was, but I still loved fashion. So my boyfriend was like, I think that you should try videos because I think that your personality comes across easier in videos than it does in writing. So I started doing a couple of videos here and there, really not taking it very seriously. But then along the way, I really grew to love the whole process of sitting down, talking to the internet about what ended up being luxury fashion, which is, where I have a lot of knowledge and spend not a great number of money on. It just happened to be, my area of expertise. So I started taking it a bit more seriously, found your podcast and was listening to all the amazing interviews that you were doing with people that I watched. And I was like, oh my gosh, getting all of these tips. And then I found out that you did a boot camp. And so as soon as I found that out, I entered my name on the waiting list and I waited for it to open. And it's just one really big thing for me with the boot camp was really stripping it down to the fundamentals of why are you doing this, which I really don't think would have come up in my mind prior. I would have just been like, oh, I'm going to do a video about this week. And I didn't think about if anyone was interested in it or if anyone would click on it or who I was trying to reach with this video and what I was trying to help people with this video. I was just thinking, oh, I'm going to do a video about this. Had no idea about my niche or anything. So I did the boot camp and single-handedly the best thing that's happened to my YouTube channel, 100%.
Oh, it's awesome. And it's so amazing to see the growth that you've had. I mean, you're at almost 50,000 subscribers. And I can't remember how many you were when you started the boot camp.
Oh my gosh. I think it was like 300.
Okay. So it was okay.
Yeah,
and
right
that was like 2 years ago. It was exactly 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So where were you at though with your channel? Like, how are you feeling about your channel at that moment when, prior to starting the boot camp?
So I knew that this was something that I wanted to take more seriously. Mm-hmm. I had kind of thrown the blog aside because I knew that I much more enjoyed filming and, giving my information that way. So I knew that I wanted to take it more seriously, but at the same time, I was, watching videos of people that I just enjoyed watching, and I would try to pick up tips here and there, but I still found it really hard to apply to what I was doing because usually I was watching people outside of my niche because I didn't really know what my niche was at the time. So yeah, I would try to apply, but it didn't make sense. Even if we take something as simple as a background, I would watch people who would maybe film sitting on the end of their bed. And so I started filming by sitting on my sofa and that was just me kind of picking up, oh, they sit on the end of their bed. Maybe that's something that I need to do, because this is what a YouTuber does. And I remember when one of the first things you said was, "You're a luxury channel. Why can't we see some of your things in the background? You're just like sitting on this sofa. It doesn't make any sense." And I sat there and it just like clicked in my mind, and I was like, it's so right. Why am I sat here? Because I think that this is, the right thing to do. So
Yeah.
my main thing was I just couldn't figure out how to make those things that worked for other people work for me and my niche. And it was because I needed to get down to the nitty gritty and start with the building blocks before thinking about everything else happening at the top, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I
Yeah.
remember working on your background. I remember that um, during the boot camp. I remember that exact conversation, and you're like, oh yeah. How long were you on YouTube, kind of trying to get it going before joining the boot camp?
Before the boot camp, I would say maybe about 8 months,
Oh,
and it
okay.
wasn't consistent. It was like, a video every so often, that kind of thing. I would film little vlogs when I went on holiday, which means absolutely nothing to my channel now because, like, why am I filming a vlog if that's not what
Mm.
my main interest is or whatever? So it was just all over the place. I was doing a little bit of like makeup reviews and stuff like that. So, yes, for 8 months I was struggling.
Ah, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were on YouTube for that long prior to
hmm
joining. So, tell me, what was it like for you going through the boot camp?
So, a lot of the lessons were very like getting down into your soul and why are you here, that kind of thing, which I think at the beginning I would have felt like, oh, well, why do I need to do this kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing? I want to make videos.
Mm-hmm.
But when you complete the lessons is when you realize how everything builds together to create, a vision for your channel.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think those like soul searching lessons are the ones that really to this day continue to drive my content and the questions that I ask myself before putting out a video, which is so important.
Mm-hmm.
One of the lessons is finding your why. Why are you
Mm-hmm.
here? What are you trying to do? Aside from YouTube, aside from
Mm-hmm.
whatever your niche is, what is the message that is like, what is your value that you are trying to get across? And I loved that. And I always, whenever I'm struggling or I'm thinking, is this the right kind of video to do? And I'm kind of questioning myself, then I always go back and I think, okay, what's my why? I want to inspire people to be their unapologetic selves so they can feel comfortable and fabulous and, go on and flex through life. So I always go back to that. Those lessons were really the fundamentals. And then there are the other lessons which are the more practical. So, like the SEO, how to, once you filmed, everything else on the back end that you need to make sure makes sense and everything's talking to the algorithm in the right way so
Mm-hmm.
that your video has the best chance of being seen by people, especially when you're first starting out and you don't have the inbuilt audience and you're really just out there hoping that people find you somehow, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that plus then all the practical stuff and then everything on the side of, okay, what content am I creating? How do I add value? How do I make sure that my video is different to the next person's and stuff like that? So it just all comes together so nicely that by the time I finished the boot camp, I was so much more comfortable in, I know what my channel is about, I know my niche, I know what my true fan and my subscribers want from me. At
Mm-hmm.
the time that I was, when, I didn't have that many subscribers at all, it was more like, okay, what kind of person am I trying to attract and get that vibe out there with my content? And that has 100% worked. I mean, the community, I think that is one of the best things to come out of YouTube is the community that I've built of people that are just like funny and amazing and they just get it,
Mm-hmm.
like I think that my channel is a little bit not necessarily like different, like I'm not trying to blow my own horn, but
Mm-hmm.
one thing that sets my channel apart within luxury fashion is that, I don't take it too seriously. And I think that people really do.
Hmm.
So, and my subscribers are people that, yeah, they just understand that it's fun and, let's take chances and everything else. So the community is incredible. Yeah.
That's great. And I do remember you going through it and being very, being active. I always say with the boot camp, you're going to get as much out of it as you get into it. If you enroll and you don't, open up the course and do the lessons and show up to the
Hmm.
calls, and you were like on at the beginning, I definitely feel like you're on a lot of the calls. Even now, I mean, we have kind of
Yeah.
an alumni program with the students that have
Hmm.
gone through it. You're still on the calls. I mean, years
Oh,
later, which I
yeah,
think is
exactly.
amazing.
No, and I think that that's so important as well, because I think, like with any job, right? Whether YouTube is your job or a hobby, you kind of fall into this pattern of it becoming second nature,
Hmm.
and you just like stop thinking about things that you used to at the beginning. But I think that it's so important to tap into things like those calls, which kickstart things that maybe you forgot about, or somebody asks a question that the answer then applies to you somehow. So I think it's so important to still be a part of it, to still keep you on your toes so that you don't
Hmm.
get complacent.
Yeah, and for those listening, watching, we have two group coaching calls a month. So the students will actually submit their questions. I will watch their videos or whatever it is, and then we'll go through them. And sometimes the calls are almost 2 hours, 90 minutes to 2 hours. And then,
Yep.
people are listening, they're popping in and out, they're getting their questions answered. Sometimes I know you'll just kind of like, I see you there. You didn't submit a question, but you're sitting there like, listening and engaged. And I love it. It's a fun group every time we have those calls. And it's cool too because it is a mix of some of the new people and then some of the people that have been in the boot camp for a couple years like yourself. So it's
Hmm.
cool. So what was the biggest breakthrough that you had when you went through the boot camp?
So I would probably say it's a mix of two. It's definitely the finding your niche, because like I said, prior to that, I'm going on holiday to Bali. I'll film a travel vlog. Why does anybody want to search Cassie Thorpe travel vlog when I have 300 subscribers and like I'm not a travel influencer? Like, how
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
and that was something that you brought up either in one of the lessons or one of the calls, which was like, starting vlogs from the beginning is a bit risky because you need to be searched, right?
Mm-hmm.
So definitely the finding your niche, and that's when I think I can remember some of the questions off the top of my head, which is like, what do people go to you for within your friend group?
Mm-hmm.
And it just started to click, and all of the answers were like luxury fashion, designer advice, blah blah blah. And at
Mm-hmm.
the end of it, I was just like, well, I didn't even think about it to this level, that is the thing that I know the most about, and
Mm-hmm.
have a weird amount of knowledge about, and everything else, that it just made sense. The other one would definitely be the why, because that really, like I said, at the times when you're questioning yourself and all of that, and sometimes that happens because you get low views 1 week or 1 month, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh my gosh, I was doing amazing last week, and now what's happening, and all of that, is then just to go back to, why am I doing this in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
And that really gives you the motivation to come back the next video and bring it and bring the value and connect with your audience.
Mm-hmm.
So that is so important.
Yeah, I mean, that's so great. And with the niche, I know so many people join the boot camp not have, and that's the question I get. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Well, do I already need to know my niche?" I'm like, "No, actually, that
Hmm.
niche lesson. I can't remember how long that workbook is, but I think it's like 20 pages, 20 or 30. It's pretty, or 30 pages. It's
It's
pretty long.
sizable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of questions, and there's like several exercises, and there's that niche quiz and all that. I'm like,
Yep.
no,
I have it all in its own
you still
binder.
have it? Oh my God. I love it. I love it. And then so it's like a lot of people say, I always tell people, it's like, no, a lot of people will discover their niche, or they'll better refine it and have a more clarity around it. So I'm glad to hear
Hmm.
that those exercises, they helped you. So what would you say helped you most inside the boot camp?
So aside from that kind of like the theory behind it,
Mm-hmm.
definitely the practical side. I remember one lesson which is about like coming up with video ideas
Mm-hmm.
because, you might, like I said, I was just coming up with, oh, I'll do a video on that, and and I don't even know if anybody was interested. So just the ways that you can inspire video ideas, I found that really interesting. Even like there were a couple of tools that were mentioned that
Mm-hmm.
you can Google certain topics and then
Mm-hmm.
you can see what's most searched to do with those topics. Even the use of TubeBuddy on my
Mm-hmm.
channel that I
Mm-hmm.
use every single time I upload, and to see if, is this a good video idea? Let me see how it might potentially do on my channel and stuff like that. So the more practical side of the back end, the SEO, coming up with video ideas, that just makes life so much easier
Yeah.
because then you have it in front of you as to whether or not, the chances of, are people going to be interested in this? Because what you don't want to do is, making a YouTube video takes so much effort and time that people do not understand. And you don't want to be slaving away coming up with a video idea, plan it, film it, edit it, and then it not do well. Sometimes that happens, even when you think it's a video idea that's going to do well. But if you can minimize your chances of you wasting your time, it's all the better. So, definitely something that the bootcamp really, really helped me with was coming up with a whole process behind picking a video idea and all of that, which I completely did not have before. I was just, randomly, oh, that might be good, and everything else. So I now have that whole system in place. The other great thing about the bootcamp is, let's say I am questioning whether or not I should do an idea. I can go into the bootcamp and I can ask people for feedback and things like that. And then also in the group calls. So I can just, ask a question and then just say, I'm thinking about this video. This is my niche. What do you think? And to be honest, because we have such a great like alumni network, it means that most people know what other people's channels and niches are about. So
Mm-hmm.
people are able to give good advice. But at the same time, you're there, you know all of our channels and everything. So you give really personal advice every time. And that's why I like going back to the calls, because I know if I'm questioning something or I'm worried about something or I'd like to get your advice on something, I just submit a question and you give that dedicated time one to one. It's in a group setting, but it is one to one advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's my favorite part of doing the boot camp too, because it is cool. Because I've gotten to know, people like you that have been in it for years. So I mean, I know you,
Hmm.
I know your channel, and it's just so fun. And yeah, you will. You'll be like, oh, what do you think of this idea, or what about this thumbnail?
Yeah.
And with this thumbnail, I'm kind of not sure. And after being in the boot camp for 2 years, it's like you'll pop in every now and then, and it's nice to see you and be able to help you there. When your channel first started to take off, since you said you had like 200 or 300 subscribers, when you joined the boot camp, what
Hmm.
did that look like?
So I think I remember this correctly. So I started the boot camp with you around August. By the end of that year, I had crossed 1,000 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was my goal last year to reach 10,000. By December, I reached 20.
Mm-hmm.
And so just the growth, once I feel like the biggest hurdle is once you get to 1,000 subscribers. From then on, the growth is so much quicker, and it just like, there's still ups and downs, but you're moving in the right direction. That
Yeah.
first 1,000 is tough.
Yeah, because technically speaking, from when you actually started your channel, because you said you were at 8 months when you joined the boot camp, you were at two or three
Hmm.
hundred subscribers, and then within a few months of joining the boot camp, you were at 1,000. But technically,
Yeah.
it's almost like it took you a little over a year to get to 1,000, and
Yeah.
then another year to get to 50,000, practically.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So then what changed in your mind about YouTube? YouTube as a career, YouTube as
Hmm.
a part of your future?
So it was always something that, oh my gosh, in a perfect world, I would do that full time. And I always kind of had that in the back of my mind, but at the same time had a bit of doubt about whether or not this is going to be big enough and obviously earn the same or close enough to the amount that I'm making from my, corporate job to be able to sustain my lifestyle and pay rent and everything else, right? So I kind of always had that doubt. However, almost at 50,000, I am leaving my job, my corporate job, and pursuing YouTube full time, which is scary, but it's so much more exciting than it is scary. Especially
Yeah.
going from, an office job to something on the complete other end of the spectrum. But every time I film, it's like sitting down with your best friends and having a chat. And I love that. And I love when I sit down to film and let's say, like I'm doing an unboxing. And usually when I film unboxings, I will not open the thing until it's on camera
Hmm.
because I want to have that feeling like I'm sat down with friends
That
and I'm like, oh my
authentic.
gosh, we're going to go through this and,
Hmm.
and, and it's going to be amazing. Um, because that whole experience is so special to me, and it is a connection. And as weird as it sounds, to sit there alone in a room talking to a camera about whatever topic it
Hmm.
is human connection. You get those comments back, or people, subscribers will then DM me and say, oh, I saw this video, what do you think of this, and blah blah blah. And it's just, yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. And so for you, I mean, you had a pretty serious job. I mean, you're in like
Hmm.
what kind of generally do you, what's your job so people are aware of what you do?
Yeah, so I basically took economics at university, and then I work in shipping for an oil company.
Yeah. And you've
So
been doing that for how many years?
6 years.
Yeah, and so now you're going from that, which you went to school for, to
Yeah,
a YouTube career. So how has that changed or transition for you? And what's kind of your mindset around that?
I know. So I'm still working through it.
Hmm.
Uh, I think half of it is just planning. So I'm really trying to be good about, I think I really like structure as a person. And because that's what I've been very used to, for my whole working life, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, blah, blah, blah. I'm in at the office at this time, whatever. So I'm trying to structure my week like that. So I'm trying to have, okay, Tuesdays and Thursdays are my filming days. Wednesday and Friday is editing. Videos go up Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that kind of thing. So I'm trying to really build structure around it. Otherwise, I will sleep in until 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I need to give myself the structure to make it, not to make it as like an office job, but to
Hmm.
give me the structure that I know I need in order to perform and create content and create great content.
And financially, were you waiting until you hit a certain, say, like monthly revenue goal with your YouTube channel? Did it have to kind of match up? Or how were you making that decision of, okay, I think I'm ready to leave my full time corporate job for YouTube?
Yeah. So that's one of the biggest transitions
Hmm.
is the money side because it's not stable like it is in an office job.
Hmm.
You're getting X amount a month and you can plan your life based on that. So it's not like that at all on YouTube. However, I did have this thing in my mind of I was going to leave when I was making the same. But everyone I have spoken to has always said, if you have that mindset, then you'll never leave
Hmm.
because the numbers keep getting higher and higher. You keep getting used to the fact that you have two
Dual
sources of income.
incomes. Yeah.
Exactly. And you get a little bit too comfortable with it. And then, saying goodbye to one becomes more and more hard.
Hmm.
So I'm making close to what I do at my full-time job now off YouTube. And I'm just kind of going for it because otherwise I won't. And I know that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, hopefully. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't know, that's a long time, but right
Hmm.
now it's what
Hmm.
I want to do. So I
Yeah.
just feel like now is any time is a good time as any. And I feel like what with the coronavirus and everything else, I think it's really helped people reevaluate parts of their life and what's important to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just kind of got this mindset of, you know what, let me just see what happens. And if it doesn't go so well, then it doesn't go so well and I apply for a normal job. But if
Mm-hmm.
it does go well, then the opportunities that that could bring are insane.
Yeah, the
So
sky's the
why
limit.
not? Exactly. So why not just go for it?
Yeah, it's just so funny. I feel like with so many, after working with so many people through my boot camp and then, interviewing people, I do feel like like anyone that has a YouTube, there's always a series of decisions that have led to that. The decision to start, the decision, with my boot campers like yourself, to invest in your channel and join something like the boot camp to get help.
Yeah.
The decision to
Mhm.
commit to your channel and be consistent. And then something, this decision at this point is like, hey, wow, I've grown the channel. I'm going to fully commit and quit my job. It's just so interesting how everyone has these decisions. What is the biggest piece of advice for somebody who wants to succeed on YouTube?
The biggest one is stick to your niche. As soon as I found out what my niche was, and then I started doing all that content that fed into that niche, was when I became, a quote unquote authority or somebody to go to for that subject.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is huge. If you want to know about luxury fashion and weird little odd pieces and all sorts of ridiculousness, then I'm your girl.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
having that kind of authority is great because people know that that is the person to go to for that. So the biggest thing would be have a niche and stick to it. The second thing would be consistency. And I did not understand. I would always listen to your podcast and people would say that. And I would be like, oh, but that's like such a small thing.
A
Like,
throwaway, yeah.
why would that be this huge thing? And even the fact that I get comments from people saying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are Cassie days, and Cassie days are my favorite. And it's the fact that people know, come rain or shine, I am going to be there at on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays
Mm-hmm.
at it's 1 p.m. in the UK. I'm not sure what time it is in America,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and it almost becomes like a TV show,
Mm-hmm.
and people expect you to be there at that time, and you show up for it. And again, it's almost like I was talking about having a structure before. It's almost like that again because you are accountable to yourself, but you're also accountable to make sure that you turn up for your audience those days. And by doing that, again, I think builds trust within your community that you're going to be there and you're going to be churning out content and stuff like that. So it's more than just making sure you put videos out. I think it's a trust thing that comes along with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they trust that you're always, yeah, like you said, that you're always going to be there. For what I see is that you've been taking it seriously since I met you. You invested in
Yeah.
yourself. You invested in the boot
Hmm.
camp. You did all the lessons. You show up to the calls. You
Yeah.
commit to a schedule of 3 days a week. And you've been doing that. And at a relatively small YouTube size, it's not like you're saying, well, I'm going to wait until I get to
Yeah.
50K and then I'm going to hire a coach or I'm going to enroll in this course. And then I'm going to add another day. It's like you've been deliberately making
Yeah.
these steps because you have this goal of where you're at now is to quit your job and do this full time.
Hmm. And I also think that it's almost, you know how people say fake it till you make it?
Mm-hmm.
You have to act like you have 100,000, 500,000, a million subscribers now in order to get there, kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing.
Yep.
And so if you take it as seriously now as you would once you got to that point, that's what's going to get you there. I fully believe that
I
because
100% believe it.
yeah, because that's how your passion shows and you're going to have the work ethic for it and everything else. So, and the thing is that your subscribers deserve that you from the beginning. They shouldn't have to be there from when you're at 300 subscribers, wait until you get to 50,000 for you to show up and take it seriously and, do your videos 1 day a week, 2 days a week, whatever, consistently, they should be getting that from the beginning. And I think that's also what's going to give them the reason to stay committed to you and your channel. You know, you've been delivering that from the beginning. They shouldn't have to wait until you reach your goal to get that level of content and that level of consistency.
And the reality is that they won't, because with so
Yeah.
much content on YouTube, why would they tune into a channel that isn't taking it seriously, or it's just a hobby, or every now and then, or they throw a video together, when there's people like you out there and hundreds of other people that are taking it very seriously and giving the best that they can? What would you tell somebody who is who has thought about joining the boot camp and they just, maybe they're on the fence or they're thinking about joining? What would you tell that person?
So, I feel like the biggest reason why you wouldn't is the financial commitment behind it. However, guaranteed, that is so worth it. As in, I have paid for that boot camp so many times over with what I've learned from those weeks, those group calls. Like I said, the advice that you give is so personal, and that in itself is so worth it. The lessons aside, which will really get you from A to B, from the beginning, to having a channel that you know what you're doing with and you have a vision for, that lesson aside, all of the extra, the calls, the Facebook groups, the fact that, YouTube and being on the internet and social media can be very lonely. I don't, my friends don't do YouTube or anything. So when you have questions, you don't have anyone to go with, to go to. So having a place where you can just say anything from camera equipment, does anyone know if this camera's any good? Lighting, thumbnails, video ideas, even like there's been people, Erika, in the bootcamp who have wanted to pivot and change niche and stuff like that. And that's a huge decision. And it has to have a whole strategy behind it. Or even you go viral, what do you do next? Because that's a huge amount of pressure riding on the back of you. So just having a place to go and a place that you can get personalized advice from, people that know you is invaluable. And like I said, I went from the amount of growth that I have experienced, I 100% put down to being on that boot camp and having those calls with you, because I would still be here sat on the side of my sofa creating, mediocre content,
On the side of your sofa.
wondering why I'm not getting to 1,000 subscribers.
With a vlog thrown in there every now and then.
Exactly. A vlog no one cares about. So exactly. It's just, yeah, I can't say enough good things about it, because I haven't gotten to, almost getting to 50,000 subscribers without it.
Yeah. Well, Cassie, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you through the boot camp and having you here on the podcast. So now my podcast listeners can see who you are and how awesome you are. And if my listeners and viewers want to check you out, where should they go?
So if you search Cassie Thorpe on YouTube, I pop up. CassCass2102 on Instagram. And that's about it. I will be there, and feel free to DM and watch a couple of videos and comment, and of course subscribe.
Awesome. I'll put all the links in the description below on the YouTube video. Thank you, Cassie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.